All right, we're out here. Usual suspects. We got Indy, we got Cheeto. This harbor should look familiar to y'all. Launch out of here all the time. What is not familiar is the timing, right? The sun's about to set. And the reason we're out getting such a late start is because we're not fishing today or this evening. We're gonna go hoop dreams and try to pick up some langostino. All right, here we go.
Hey, what's going on everyone? This video is going to detail a lobstering, or what do you call it, hooping outing that took place about 2 days ago. I'm still running a little bit hot from that trip and I'll explain more later. But anyways, if you're wondering about the gear, the hows, the whens, the whys, I put out a video last year that goes over all that stuff in much more detail. So I kind of feel like my role on YouTube is to be the guy who tries to relay to you what you might see, feel, hear as you try activity XYZ for the first time. And I also want to give you tips in terms of safety and efficacy so you can cut right to the chase, get past a steep learning curve, and get right to having fun. Having said that, not every outing or activity is going to be fruitful, fun, or even pleasant. And unfortunately, hooping seems to be one of those activities that attracts more than its fair share of low-life knuckleheads. I mean, I could dress it up for you and put lipstick on it, but it's still gonna be a pig. There has to be a secondary market for these things where people can go off and sell them for like 10 bucks a pound or whatever. And unfortunately, 50 bucks for a lot of people on this planet is justification to mistreat your fellow human being. Sad, but true. My buddy mentioned that they need the money for diapers, cigarettes, and tattoos, and maybe not necessarily in that order. So I guess my point is, if you're a low-key person and you don't like conflict and you don't like confrontation, you probably will not like this activity. Because at some point, I can almost guarantee that there's gonna be some yelling, there's gonna be some stupid posturing, and there's gonna be some numbskullery going on. And that's not even the worst of it. Some of these low-life knuckleheads will have no qualms about poaching your traps or even sabotaging your gear. So, to give you an example, last year we were outside the harbor wall and there was a guy in a john boat blasting by us at full throttle, no more than like 15 feet from us. His intent was to capsize us. Now, if I were to get a hold of that warrior on dry land, that would make for an interesting video. That's not a video that Hobie or Malibu Kayaks would sponsor, but Delta Dental and Kaiser Permanente might be interested. And so this time around, I get into it with another guy who apparently has the deed to the Pacific Ocean. There are a lot of copies floating around apparently. And I didn't videotape the confrontation because while stuff like that's happening, I'm not thinking about how best to frame that to get the maximum YouTube views. I'm thinking about how best to reshape this guy's attitude. And so I was actually able to run into this guy later on that evening. And what's interesting is once you get up close and personal with these guys, this amazing transformation takes place. All of a sudden they go from Chuck Norris to Gandhi or Martin Luther King. And now they're all about de-escalating. It's fucking amazing. Anyways, I've ranted long enough. That's probably not why you're here. So let me give you some tips in addition to being aware of people like these. So here we're hanging out inside the harbor and we're waiting for the sun to fully set. And so the way the wind works around here is early morning, like 5, 6 a.m. It's very still, very little wind. And then typically it'll blow pretty good from, let's say, 10 o'clock to maybe 4. And then once the sun goes down, it'll get very still again. And so if you're not comfortable with paddling outside of the harbor at night, you can drop your traps inside the harbor. I haven't done it enough to be able to say definitively the action's definitely better outside. But there are some bugs inside, and if you work hard enough, you should be able to pick up a few. Now they call the lobsters the cockroaches of the sea because during the daytime what they'll do is, let me zoom in here, they'll hang out in the crevices of the rock walls. And then once night comes around, they'll come out and feed out in the open. And of course, that's going to attract the land cockroaches as well, as I've mentioned. As far as where inside the harbor to drop, I don't know, it seems kind of random to me. And again, I haven't done it enough to put together any kind of a scientific database. The water depth can go from anywhere like 5 around the rock walls to maybe around like 30-35 feet in the middle of the channel. And so if you are willing to hustle, it's not going to take a lot of time to cover different points and figure out what's what. In terms of gear, we're using the Promar Ambush hoop nets, and these are rigid frame. They come in different sizes, and for kayakers, I think probably the smallest size, which is 32-inch diameter, is best. In addition to the net, you have to buy a kit. This is the bait cage, and this is the buoy, and this is the line. As far as bait goes, I think the oilier the fish, the better off you're going to be. So we're talking like mackerel, bonito, etc. Also, do be aware that going after lobsters requires a special report card. And it's like 10 bucks as I write this. And then after the season closes, which is in March, you have to fill out the report card and tell the DF&G how many lobsters you've caught. And if you don't do that, they'll get mad at you. There is a size and bag limit to lobsters, but you should not rely upon a YouTube video that may be dated by the time you watch this. So make sure you go on the DF&G website and check out the latest regulations. And that's basically it. After you bait up, you wait for the sun to go down and you drop your traps. Now, at night, there's far less boat traffic, of course, but still, you don't want to be dropping your traps in obvious boat lanes because you don't want to get your ropes and buoys run over by boats. And you do have to do some kind of line management so that you don't have spare rope like floating all over the surface where a boat can come by and get it caught in its prop. They'll get really mad, and for good reason.
And then in addition to the buoy, Indy's got a little bit of a little flashlight or something like that attached to it, so we can come back to it and find it.
After dropping the traps, you wait about 20-30 minutes and then you pick them back up. Some traps will come up with no lobsters and some will come up with 5 lobsters. The vast majority of them will be short. So you need to make sure you have the lobster gauge to be able to tell whether or not they're legal. Lobster hooping most of the time is going to be very uneven in terms of results. I mean, one night you might go out and pick up 3, another night you might go out and pick up none. So beyond the random nature of the catch, it's hard work. I mean, you have to launch at night. Everything's a little bit tougher at night. You know, by the time you get home and clean up, it's going to be like midnight. So yeah, it's a lot of work. Okay, that about wraps up this video. You know, I can't say that I enjoy lobster hooping to any great degree. I don't find it especially exciting or challenging, but you know, it can be fun and it is different. And if my early rant hasn't driven the point home, you know, do be careful, do be aware of the types of people that you might run into out there at night. As always, thank you for dropping by. Get out there, have fun, be safe, and we will see you soon. Bye for now.